The member for Moore.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Treasurer, representing the Minister for Finance. Will the Treasurer outline to the House how the Morrison government is responding to recommendations from the Auditor-General in relation to future grants programs, and how the present and previous Auditor-General's reports into grants programs have demonstrated the need for improvements to be applied to the Commonwealth grant guidelines?
The Treasurer, if the member for Chifley wants to make a point of order, he can make it. He's not going to just sit there and bark at me. And member for Chifley.
Under Standing Order 100B, a question that has been asked and fully answered cannot be asked twice.
You better read the standing order so that you understand it. The Treasurer has the call.
You've got time. You've got lots of time in your hands.
No, I'll give you, just before I call the Treasurer, it's probably the most straightforward standing order. It needs to be identical. The Treasurer has the call.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the member for Moore for his question. And as the member for Moore knows, we on this side of the House have taken the Auditor-General's report into Community Sport Infrastructure Program very seriously, and we're implementing the recommendations from that report, including the extension of the Commonwealth grants rules and guidelines to situations that involve corporate Commonwealth entities like Sports Australia, and the decision-maker is a minister, Mr Speaker. Now, as this House would be aware, and particularly those opposite, it's not the only report of the Auditor-General that has made important observations, Mr Speaker. Now, there was a report, number 9, of the Auditor-General 2014-15 into the design and conduct of the 3rd and 4th funding rounds of the Regional Development Australia Fund, a fund which was $1.4 billion and saw under rounds 3 and 4 more than $200 million awarded, Mr Speaker. Now, this report found on page 132 a feature of the minister's decision-making was the lack of a strong alignment between the funding decisions taken and the panel's recommendations, Mr Speaker, and that records of the reasons for funding decisions taken, contrary to panel advice, generally provided little insight as to their basis and made no reference to the published selection criteria. So, Mr Speaker, the House may be interested to know who was the beneficiary of this process, Mr Speaker. Well, the Auditor-General says on page 19, 64% of ministerial decisions to fund applications that had been categorically by the panel as other than recommended for funding related to ALP-held electorates, Mr Speaker, compared to just 18% relating to coalition-held electorates. Now, Mr Speaker, guess who the minister responsible for this program was? Guess who the minister responsible for this program was? The member for Ballarat, Mr Speaker. The member for Ballarat, Mr Speaker. Now, it's the invisible member for Ballarat, Mr Speaker.
The Treasurer will resume his seat. Treasurer resume his seat. Members on both sides. The member for Cowan. The member for McEwen on a point of order.
The member for Deakin has made an unparliamentary remark. I'd ask him to get into withdraw.
I asked the member for Deakin whether he made an unparliamentary remark. Can the member for Deakin come to the dispatch box so that Hansard can record his answer? In these circumstances, I can only ask the member for Deakin whether he made an unparliamentary remark.
Thanks, Mr Speaker. I did make an unparliamentary remark.
Well, you need to withdraw if you did.
No, I didn't.
You didn't.
I did make an unparliamentary remark.
Okay. Member for Deakin, resume his seat.
I didn't unparliamentary remark.
The Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And who was the member for Ballarat Senior Minister? The member for Grayling, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, hypocrisy, thy name is Labor.